What President Trump accomplished in these trade negotiations has Beijing's Communist Party leadership in complete panic. Our sources tell us Chinese officials never expected him to play this card. And the leverage he used, well, let's just say it explains why the Chinese delegation suddenly changed their tune on everything from tariffs to fentanyl. When you see the documents we've obtained showing what China's been hiding about the real economic situation, you'll understand why they had no choice but to cave. And wait to hear about a high-ranking CCP official accidentally admitted it changes everything. We have exclusive news direct from the White House. And just like America is finally getting a fair trade deal, isn't it time you got a fair deal on your health? While China's been flooding our markets with cheap supplements, they've been keeping the real breakthrough formulas for themselves. Well, that ends today. Our multi-collagen formula is sourced from premium American suppliers backed by rigorous U.S. testing standards, and we are talking about the same pharmaceutical-grade collagen the Chinese elites pay top dollar for. And just like our new trade deal, we are cutting out the middleman to bring you massive savings. So visit healthwithgary.com. Get 51% off during our America First special. Now, we got Tom McCullough at the White House right now. He just filed a report, but I want to check in with the Treasury Secretary, talking about what happened with these supply chains, amazing things, upside surprise, reach an agreement. Here, let's just jump into the agreement.
We have reached an agreement on a 90-day pause and substantially moved down the tariff levels. Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%. We had very robust discussions. Both sides showed great respect. It was a chance for me to meet the Chinese delegation. The Vice Premier I had previously had only a video call with. Ambassador Jameson was familiar with two of the other leaders on the delegation from his previous time. So there was very good personal interaction. Both countries represented their national interests very well. We concluded that we have shared interest, and we both have an interest in balanced trade. The U.S. will continue moving towards that. We have reached.
Moving right along, let's continue with this breaking news, historic news about what's happened with this deal. A marathon over the last 2 days in Geneva.
On Saturday. Here in Geneva, we witnessed marathon talks over the last 2 days, 8 hours of discussions on Saturday, several hours more yesterday, and they've yielded a major breakthrough. As you noted, we've seen the U.S. and China now agree to slash tariffs for 90 days. So both sides have agreed to cut tariffs by 115%. In terms of China's tariffs on U.S. goods, it's now going to come down to 10%. The U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods going to drop from 145% to 30%, because you've still got some levies on fentanyl in there. During the 90 days, the Trump administration, Secretary Scott Bessent, saying the two sides will negotiate. The U.S. will continue moving toward a more balanced trading relationship. Here in Geneva, we witnessed.
Let's check in with Tom now at the White House.
Negotiations. Hey guys, this is Tom McCullough reporting from the White House with the Next News Network. And we're one of the few networks you can trust for the real story right here in the press room at the heart of the swamp. Today, President Trump scored a massive win for the America with a game-changing trade deal with China. Let's go ahead and break this down. So first, the big news. Trump announced a total reset with China after talks in Geneva. Both sides agreed to slash tariffs to 10% for 90 days while they tackle the bigger issue. Here's the president himself laying it out. Go ahead and watch.
In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the largest structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on. that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs.
Now let's talk about why this deal came together. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett called it a fresh start, saying the speed and scale of the changes are stunning. Let's hear him explain the mood at the negotiating table. Check this out.
I think it's actually quite similar to the things that we've been seeing in the other negotiations. We actually have a fresh start with China. That's the way to think about these negotiations, that we've come in with these reciprocal tariffs. We've described the non-tariff barriers and tariffs that disadvantage American workers. And folks are coming to the table, and it's really stunning how quickly they're moving and how dramatic the changes are. Imagine we're selling beef in the UK again, and China has the 10% tariff, reciprocal tariff that we're charging the UK. All of this has happened because of President Trump's leadership. He's shown people that, look, we're not going to stand for this ridiculous behavior that we've been observing over the years. But then people come in and say, yeah, you got us. And then they work out something that's good for both countries. And so I think it's really a very historic fresh start in the relationship between the U.S. and China, given how much movement there was over the weekend.
But here's the kicker. Trump's team didn't just stumble into this victory. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent revealed that the Biden administration totally dropped the ball, letting China ignore past trade agreements. Here's Bessent exposing that failure. Check it out.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we all already have a large framework. The other thing to remember here, Jonathan, is that this is a pause down to 10%. The April 2nd level for China is 34%. So we will be working to see where their final reciprocal number ends up. And the negotiations are a combination of tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor and capital.
Thanks to Trump's strength, his team, including Bessent and the U.S. Trade Representative, sealed this deal. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said China agreed to cut their tariffs on the U.S. by 115%, and that's huge. Let's hear her break it down. Check this out.
This is an extraordinary first step in the right direction. And thanks to the strength of President Trump, Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Greer were able to cut this initial deal with China. China agreed to reduce their tariffs on the United States by 115%. They also agreed to continue having discussions about opening Chinese markets to American-made products and goods. And they also agreed to continue seriously discussing the grave impact that Chinese-produced fentanyl is having right here in the United States and our people. So this is a great first step for the American public, and Secretary Bessent, Ambassador Greer, and of course President Trump will continue negotiations with China so we can hopefully inevitably get to a fair and comprehensive big trade deal.
Now let's get to the strategy behind this. Bessent explained that this deal is part of a smart move to protect America's manufacturing hit hard by what he calls the China shock. It's all about securing our supply chains after COVID exposed the risk. Here's Bessent on that. Watch this.
Well, Joe, this is going to go where the president wants it to go. I was in touch with him over the weekend, and he wants free trade, free and fair trade. We've had free trade, and as you said, that has not worked for the American people. There's something called the China shock, which has gutted our manufacturing sector. And China has a different form of government for us. They have a different economic model where they subsidize labor, they subsidize capital goods, and they have exported that to us and the rest of the world. We have put up tariffs to push back on that, so it will be a matter of what is the equilibrium level on tariffs and also getting China to open their markets for American companies. Because China actually has a low tariff regime, but it is the non-tariff trade barriers that can be the most difficult to overcome. So we will be focusing on the non-tariff trade barriers and the subsidies, and the idea, China can become more open to American business, and the things that are sold into the U.S. Can not have the same level of subsidy. And no one wants to do a generalized decoupling, but we are going to do a strategic decoupling because we realized during COVID that efficient supply chains were not secure supply chains. So with steel, with semiconductors, with medicines, with a couple of other strategic categories, we are going to have to become self-reliant again.
And there's more good news. U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Greer said both sides are working together on the fentanyl crisis with a positive path forward. That's a big deal for American families. Let's hear it from Greer. Watch this.
And so today, with this agreement, we come to agreement that our reciprocal tariff rate will go down to 10% on the United States side, so it goes down 115%. We enter into a 90-day pause period for negotiations, which both the Chinese and the United States are very committed to. And the Chinese on their side also go down 115% to 10%, and they remove the countermeasures that they have in place. To be very clear, other measures that the United States has put in place in the past, whether it's tariff measures from 2018 or since, tariffs under other statutory authorities, tariffs related to fentanyl, those remain unchanged for now to the side. I'll just make one point, is that both the Chinese and the United States agreed to work constructively together on fentanyl, and there's a positive path forward there as well.
So this deal's already making waves. The Dow jumped 1,000 points today, and the S&P 500 soared 3% as markets cheered this 90-day truce. Chinese exporters are breathing easier, and the U.S. businesses might finally get the fair access to China's market, something Trump has been fighting for since day one. Folks, this is what leadership looks like. Trump's delivering on his promises, putting America first, and showing the world who we're back in charge. That's all from now from the White House. This is Tom McCullough signing off for the next news. God bless.
All right, Tom, thank you for that report. Well done, sir. Let's check in with some more from the press secretary, talking about what he saw with the Chinese economy.
There was no sense of anxiety. There was a sense of moving forward. There was a sense of mutual respect. There was a sense that we had shared interests. But I have seen what's going on in the Chinese economy. We can see what's going on with the shipments to the U.S. And again, we are the deficit country. Historically, the deficit country has a better negotiating position. There was no sense.
Donald Trump knows that, and that's why we are where we are today. Let's keep going. We've got some more. This is, let's see. All the president's objectives will be cut. Here. This is Hassett talking about the president's objectives.
A sketch of we're really, really pleased with the progress. The Ways and Means Committee is going to have a mark probably Tuesday where they put everything on the table. They've got a sketch of a deal right now, and we're highly confident after communicating with Chairman Smith that all of the president's top objectives are going to be in the bill. And then after that, we expect by Memorial Day it'll pass in the House, and then it'll go on to the Senate and hopefully be there by the 4th of July. And literally everybody thinks that can happen. There's not a lot of disagreement left in either the House or the Senate. And so we're super optimistic that this is going to be probably not only the biggest tax bill ever, but the best designed and the fastest achieved. Think about it. Have you ever seen anything move this fast? It's really astonishing. We're really, really
not in Washington, D.C., that's for sure. Here is Howard Lutnick talking about the tariffs.
I think the point that the president makes with his tariffs is that America has a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. That means other people are selling us goods that more than we are selling them. And that's just not balanced. It's not fair. We're losing $1.2 trillion a year, of which directly and indirectly to China, that's about $1 trillion. You know, China sells goods to Vietnam. Vietnam repackages them and sells them to us. So the idea is the president wants balanced and fair trade, and tariffs are the tool to create balanced and fair trade. It's just unsustainable for one $1.2 trillion to be exported to the rest of the world, meaning our money is going to the rest of the world. It's building them up. And over time, it's taken us down. And the president's here to fix it. So that's what he's trying to do with his tariffs. I think the point that the
Let's see. We've got some more from the Commerce Secretary.
I think the point that the president makes with his tariffs is that America has a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. That means other people are selling us goods that more than we are selling them. And that's just not balanced. It's not fair.
Sorry, I think I played that clip already. Hang on.
Leave it to him.
The talks in Switzerland with us and China, you have said, listen, this is going to take potentially dozens of talks. What can you tell us about managing expectations on a timeline when something could come together?
Well, Secretary Bessent has made it clear one of his objectives is to de-escalate. 145% and 125% are really, those are kind of tariffs where you're not trading with each other. So he's there to see if we can reset the conversation, and he's at it right now. So I'm going to leave it to him of how he deals with it. But that's the objective, to de-escalate.
So let's be clear about what we just witnessed here, of course, in Geneva. For decades, China has played the global trade system like a fiddle, but today the game ended. 115% tariff reduction isn't just a number, it's a complete reversal of decades of economic abuse. And their commitment to stopping fentanyl, well, that's something no previous administration could achieve. So here's what we need to ask ourselves. If this kind of deal was possible all along, why did previous administrations let China walk all over us? What were they really getting out of it? Who profited? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And speaking of winning, why don't you check out our Next News gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. It's linked down below, and show the world where you stand with the real news.